In class today, we talked about 2.2, which talked about comparison problems. Now, with this chapter, we're doing lots and lots of multiplication, but we're also bringing in some of the things that we learned last chapter with addition and subtraction and how to determine what we're doing. So let's take a look at some of the problems that we did in class today. Okay, this was number 6, and number 6 was tricky. Now remember, on your homework, I want to see you draw your model of what we're talking about. So let's read the problem through. Ben has 3 times as many guppies as goldfish. If there's a total of 20 fish, how many guppies does he have? All right, we have to stop and we have to draw our model. So let's go ahead and do that. When I draw my model, here's what I have to do. I'm going to be talking about guppies, so I'm going to put a G and a U for guppies, and I'm talking about goldfish, so G-O. All right. For my guppies, I have 3 times as many, so that means I need 3 boxes for guppies, and I have 1 box for our goldfish. Now we're told that our total here is 20 fish, so I'm going to put my bracket, and my total is 20. Now, I don't know how many guppies or goldfish I have yet, so I'm going to put my variable of n in all of my boxes. Okay? Now I need to write my equation to solve for n. So my equation is going to be how many total n's I have, because I'm talking about my total. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 total n's, so I need to write 4 times n, which is my variable, is going to be equal to my total over here, 20. I have to think in my brain, 4 times what gives me 20? I know that 4 times 5 gives me 20. So that means my n is equal to 5. Alright, now I have to go back into my problem and read what it wants me to find. It says, how many guppies does he have? Alright, so I need to focus on my guppies part then. Here are my guppies. I'm going to replace my n with my number 5, because I know that I have 5 for each of those n's. That's what this tells me right here. Okay? So, I have 1, 2, 3 5s. I know that if I have 3 5s, then my problem is 5 times 3. 5 times 3 is equal to 15. Alright, so I have 15 guppies. Now, it's very important that we go back into our problem and think about what they're asking. They didn't just want us to solve for n. We had to do more than that. We had to go back and solve for guppies, which was our top number, which had multiple n boxes. Let's take a look at another problem that has even more steps than this one does. Okay, in this problem, Carlita solved 5 times, I'm going to put my multiplication sign up top, 5 times as many robins as cardinals while she was bird watching. She saw a total of 24 birds. I'm going to stop right there and I'm going to draw my model. So we're talking about robins and we're talking about cardinals. She has 5 times as many robins as cardinals. So I have to draw 5 boxes for robins and only 1 box for cardinals. Now, it tells me that my total is 24. So I'm going to draw that bracket and put my total of 24 on the outside. Alright, now, do I know how many goes in each of those boxes? Not yet. Because I don't know, I'm going to put my n, I'm going to put my variable, and that's what I'm trying to solve for. Okay, so now I'm going to write out my equation that I'm trying to solve. My equation is going to be how many total n's I have times n is going to be equal to my total over here of 24. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total n's. So my problem is going to be 6 times 4 is equal to, whoops, not 4. 6 times n is equal to 24. Alright, I have to think in my mind, 6 times what is equal to 24? I know that 6 times 4 is equal to 24, so my n is equal to 4. Okay. I found my n. Perfect. Now I need to stop and think and go back into my problem. My problem wants to know how many more, which is going to be subtraction, so how many more robins did she see than cardinals? In order to be able to figure that out, I have to figure out how many robins I have. So I need to figure out what my r is equal to. I know that each of my n is equal to 4. So I'm going to replace all of those n's with my number 4. Let's see how many of those 4's I have now. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in order to figure out how many robins I have, I'm going to do 4 times 5. Okay? I know that 4 times 5 is equal to 20. So I have 20 robins. Now I need to figure out how many cardinals I have. All I have is one n for cardinals, which means I have 4 cardinals. So my cardinals are going to be equal to 4. Now, my question's asking me how many more of robins do I have than cardinals. So I have to subtract 20 minus 4. When I subtract 20 minus 4, I'm going to borrow here. That's going to turn into a 10. I get 6, and I bring down my 1. So my answer is going to be 16. So I need to write it in a nice sentence. 16 more cardinals than, I'm running out of room, robins. All right. Let's take a look at 2 of your problems from your homework tonight. Kind of give you a little edge. All right, the first problem we're going to look at is number 6 on your homework page. Sue scored a total of 35 points. Total of 35 points in 2 games. She scored 6 times as many points in the second game as in the first game. How many points did she score in the second game? All right, this problem's a little bit different than some of the problems we worked out in class because the order is different of the way that they gave us our problems. And they gave us our numbers. The first thing that they gave us was our total. And then they gave us our second and first. So we're talking about our second game. And we're talking about our first game. So I'm going to put S for second and F for first. Okay. She scored 6 times as many points in her second game than her first game. So I'm going to put 6 boxes, which means there's only 1 for my first, and my total is 35. My total here is 35. All right, now my problem is set up like I'm used to, so I'm going to go ahead and solve. I know that all of these are n's. So I'm going to solve for my n. In order to do that, I have to count up all of my n's. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total n's. So I'm going to write out my problem. 7 times n is equal to 35. And I have to think about what my n is equal to. So 7 times what is equal to 35? I know that 7 times 5 is equal to 35, so my n is equal to 5. All right. Now that I have my n, I have to think about what my problem is asking me. It's asking me how many more points did she score in the second game. Okay. In order to find that, I have to figure out how many points she scored in the second game and how many points she scored in the first game. And then I'm going to subtract. Okay, so let's figure out how many she scored in the second game first. So I'm going to start right here. I'm going to replace all those n's with my number 5, because that's what my n's are equal to. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those. So in my second game, she scored 5 times 6. I know that 5 times 6 is equal to 30. So that's how many points she scored in the second game. Now I need to figure out how many points she scored in the first game. I only have one n there. I'm going to replace that with my 5 as well. So in my first game, she just scored 5 points. All right, since we want to know how many more, we're going to subtract 30 minus 5. I'm going to borrow, which gives me 5 down here and 2. So she scored 25 more points in the second game than in the first game. Let's look at one more problem. Okay. Here's number Oh, number 6 again. I have to change that. Hold on. Okay, this is number 2 on the back of your homework tonight. Again, this is one of these problems that has more than one step, so let's take a look. In Sean's fish tank, there are 6 times as many goldfish as guppies. Goldfish and guppies again. There are a total of 21 fish in the tank. Let's stop right there and draw out our problem. We have goldfish, I'm going to put a G-O, and we have guppies, G-U. Now, even though this is an ABCD problem, a multiple choice, I still should see your work. Okay, so she has 6 times as many goldfish as guppies, so I need to put 6 boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, now I'm putting my guppies, so I only have 1 box for guppies, and it tells me that my total is 21. So I'm putting my bracket and my total of 21. Now, I have to solve for what goes in these boxes, and I know that I don't know what's in there yet, so I'm going to put an N. Okay, because I have my total, I have to count up the total N's that I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total N's. So 7 times N is going to be equal to 21. I have to think in my brain 7 times what gives me 21? I know that my N is going to be equal to 3 because 7 times 3 is 21. Okay, now I need to go back to my problem and figure out what they want me to solve for. How many more? How many more means we're going to subtract. So how many more goldfish are there than guppies? Okay, I have to go back into my problem and I have to figure out how many goldfish there are. Then I have to figure out how many guppies there are, and I'm going to subtract. So I'm going to do the same thing I did in my last problem. I'm replacing those N's with the number 3 because that's what my N stands for. And I'm going to count up how many of those I have. I have 6 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in order to find my goldfish, it's going to be equal to 3 times 6, which is 18. Okay. Now I need to find my guppies. So for my guppies, I only have 1 N. I only have 1 3. So my guppies are equal to 3. Now I need to subtract because I need to find how many more. Okay, subtract 18 minus 3. 8 minus 3 is 5. And I bring down my 1 and I get 15. So I'm going to write, well, I have to look in my problem and I see that 15 is C. So that's my answer. Okay, take your time with these problems, write out your problems, write out the little model so that you know what you're solving for, and then read carefully. They have more than one step. We're not just solving for N. We have more that we have to do, especially when they say how many more. But be careful. If they would have just asked for goldfish, I still would have had another step. I would have had to solve for just my goldfish. Okay, so put a nice rectangle around what you're solving for. Replace your N's with the number that you get right here so that you remember what you're solving for, and then do the multiplication. Alright guys, I hope this video helps, and I'll see you tomorrow.